Yes. The entire operating forces, including naval aviation of the Navy and of the Marine Corps, and the reserve components of those operating forces, all field activities, headquarters, forces, bases, installations, activities, and functions under the control or supervision of the Secretary of the Navy and the Coast Guard when it's operating as a service in the Navy. Now, I know Homeland Security would say that we have control of the Coast Guard, but I'm thinking that you might. The General Counsel of the Navy, Paul Oosterberg Sons, I couldn't remember exactly what your job was there, is head of the Office of the General Counsel, responsible for providing legal advice, counsel, and guidance within the Department of the Navy on the following matters: business and commercial law, environmental law, civilian personal law, real and personal property law, and patent law. Procurement of services, including the fiscal, budgetary, and accounting aspects for the Navy and the Marine Corps. Now, I know that this General Counsel of the Navy, yes, got a lot of attorneys over there, do you? Pooh! You know, yesterday I mentioned that I might be having to sue every one of them. Now, you might think that you're powerful as a General Counsel of the United States Navy, but you allow for any violence against a U.S. territory, you could be court-martialed. Now, you know my feelings about court-martialing. Okay. I just as well, as soon as the judgment is said, I'd put a fucking bullet in your fucking brain right now. And I'm not a violent individual. I don't like conflict. Yes. But maybe the General Counsel and the attorneys would consider a 1 week fast and 2 days of pumpkin pie. Now, for some reason, you thought that I did not have anything to say. But I'm thinking that this supremacist mutiny of the actual Constitution, Paul Oosterberg Sons, you remember me? Well, why don't you decide that you're going to fast and all of. Well, you refuse to sue a state of the United States for refusing to enforce the Organic Act of the United States Territory of Guam? I'm sure that. Well, why don't you get me all the attorneys in the General Counsel Office of the Department of the United States Department of Defense? Now, for every attorney that thought, no, I'd rather have the court martial, they used to put them to death. Is that still how they do it? You needed a week off to be by yourself, or you wanted to spend some time on an aircraft carrier. You know how the military can arrange for travel for any person in the United States military. Now, somebody thought, well, I'm going to volunteer to do this, but what if I get hungry? When all of the food is controlled on any ship of the United States Navy, it's easy to deprive you of food. Yes, it is. See, they have individuals. Isn't that right, Cookie? Yes. That I know that the attorneys of the United States Navy would never hesitate to sue any state of the United States that refuses to enforce the laws of the United States. Now, if I found out, okay, that cowardice would allow for the fraud of the Constitution of this great nation, I will actually, well, I'm going to do it, but I would sue you for cowardice and fraud. Every Now, for every attorney in the United States military that knows that my civil rights are being violated, ooh, it could be a court martial. What happens when you join a bar association so as to represent the Department of Defense? Yes. I had actually communicated with the bar associations of the United States about the refusal to enforce the attorney oaths. Yes, the oaths of omission to the candidacy forms. And it could be that those in the General Counsel, Judge Advocate, I know that you're a very slender individual, but I'm kind of thinking that anytime you wanted to eat, the Navy has supported you. Now, you might be 6'6" and 220 pounds, but you could lose 10, couldn't you? Now, this whole idea of you having diarrhea, it's something that's new to you because the Navy has never deprived you of a meal, have they? No. But we could arrange for any sort of travel in the United States Army. Let's say you were stuck in a tank for a week and a half and you couldn't get at any food. Ouch! They could put a tank out there in the middle of Death Valley. Is it hot there?